All right, no swearing from now on in. We are recording. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Really appreciate everybody being here and making the time. I'm excited. We're going to get through the news in lightning speed. Moyez, if you have to drop off, thank you for stopping in, but understand you've got lots of people on your dance card. So if we lose you, we lose you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Feel free to get in touch with either of us. This is all the information. If you need it, grab it. Ping me if you don't. Hit me in the chat or on LinkedIn, and I'll connect you with anybody that's here or anybody that shared their information. I do have, does anybody want a book on Salesforce architecture? Enterprise architecture? All right. All right, first ones of these to give away. Let's see, you were here first, who went? Yep, okay. Yes, and yes, thank you. So please let me know, bring it back and share it. We'll treat it like a library here. So I swore I was going to give away books tonight. So, okay, mission accomplished, interruption, distraction done. So thank you guys for being here. I hope that's interesting. Please give me any feedback you've got on it. I'd love to hear about it. I haven't got that. It's been in. It's not even available for. Well, it's available for pre-order, but it's not out yet. So those are preview copies. We are always looking for other people that want to commit and contribute to bringing interesting topics to the group. If you're interested in being a regular part of this group and helping me come up with ideas for what to present, please see me about it. Always open for that. Like I said, I'm going to go through pretty quick. Jade Leong is here. I'm glad to add Jade to the group. She's a good buddy and a constant supporter of the military outreach program. Jade, are you still there?
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Great to see you again. So if anybody's interested in doing anything with that, I think we're going to try and do some of the Salesforce for Youth and revive that. And I'd love to do Salesforce for military transitioners. So hopefully you'll get some time to get that started if the conference doesn't take all of my spare time like it probably is going to. Feel free to catch anybody on Twitter. I don't know what Salesforce's position on Twitter is right now with the weird things going on, but these are some of our locals that participate in it regularly and catch up on it. I try to put whatever information I come across there, I put it here and on LinkedIn, so feel free to connect. Yeah, excitement, boring book. Job seekers over chat. If anybody's looking for work, post your resume, and jobs are already posted there from Infosys. Anybody has any other ones they want to put on there or want me to keep around, please let me know. New and newsworthy. So already went over the conference. So that's We Dreamin', hopefully be in April 2024. Call for speakers is still open through the end of the month, and tickets are going to be available, I think, all the way up until the event. It's hosted in the middle of a big security conference, and we're going to have representatives from multiple clouds there. So we're trying to make it a cloud-to-cloud architecture event. So that's coming up. I'm excited about that. So we're still putting together the tracks on that. There should be at least 2 tracks that are exclusively Salesforce. And when I mean exclusively, it's Salesforce and probably on a lot of them. So Salesforce and AWS, Salesforce and Snowflake, Snowflake and Tableau, Tableau and GCP. So it should be interesting. And we're getting a lot of content that's going to be connecting a lot of dots, because most of us are not lucky enough to be Salesforce only in their enterprise. You've always got, almost always got Microsoft email and AWS hosting and WordPress and what have you. It's never just a Salesforce solution. There's almost always integrations. Code Builder, the web-based version of VS Code is now GA. So that should make for some interesting. I'm so ready to never install the Java runtime ever again. And just have that on the web and not have to configure my enormous path statement each time and install and reinstall. So excited about that. Flow found this out today. I don't think this is very much news, but there's an in operator in flows that will save you some of the query loops. That was super exciting, solved a bunch of flow efficiency stuff for me, and let me do some stuff I have been wanting to do forever and had to do loops within loops within loops. So that is exciting. There are flow tests now. You can save packets of variables to run against your flows so that you can continue to retest them. You don't have to type and copy and paste IDs and stuff anymore. So when you're building your library of flows, you can also build tests that go with them. Every time you make a change, you don't have to refigure out how to test it. So super exciting. It's always fun to see flow getting more and more maturity. I was arguing today for the maturity of flows and using it as a central part of your automation orchestration, and meeting some stodgy feedback a little bit, but had a good representative from Salesforce and some open minds, and started to crack that door open for flows being an enterprise automation tool, not just a cute forms tool like it used to be. More objects are available for Lightning Dynamic Forms. So those are releasing and rolling out to more of the standard objects. It was already doable for custom objects, but I don't know if they've gotten all the way up to the accounts yet, but that's exciting to see that there. And there's a new, if you've ever run into having too many list views on a list because of each of the page views that you were trying to build, and you had to go build a list view for every page view, you can apparently start with a core list view now in a Lightning Dynamic form and configure filters specifically to that page that you're pulling the related list into that page. So you don't have to go out and constantly make list views, leave those alone out in this other object. You can have everything centralized in your dynamic forms. And then permission set expiration dates, also probably not new, but as you can tell, I went through a lot of my exam maintenance this week. So these are all top hits from the exam maintenance track. Permission set expiration dates. So we wish profiles a rapid death. We want to get to permission set and permission set groups as the more flexible multi-member, not archaic, not one person has one view. We want that multiple overlap, but we want less chaos. But you can now set expiration dates on the permission sets that you're added to. So when you add somebody to a permission set, you can say this expires in 6 months so that they have to renew it. Or you can have this access for 30 days, but not longer, and renew it. So it gives you more ability to manage and maintain permission sets, which will hopefully accelerate its adoption over the profiles. It can only be in one profile, and so everything has to be, yeah, it's a mess. Hopefully everybody knows that. If you want to hear me expand on why profiles need to die, let me know. Happy to entertain. Scale Blazer, still out there. I missed the AMA today. There's supposed to be an AMA. I would grab, I will throw that link in the chat because I took it down. There is a good AMA going on, not quite true to the core level, but it's once a month, dev and architect based, and I'm sorry, I don't have the slide in there. I will put that in the chat while Stephan is talking to us. So that is not the, okay, so next month, we don't usually have a November meeting, but I'm going to do one anyway. We're going to do unforgettable flows, more Flownatic hype, sorry, love flows. We're going to talk about how to make flows developer ready, like the developer ecosystem, all the DevOps patterns, all the monitoring. How do you make your flows easy to read, easy to consume, easy to trade, and not just nightmare spider webs that nobody wants to touch after you make them, or nobody trusts to run at any kind of scale. There's a lot of great rules and a great practice that's built up around Apex development and customization. A lot of those rules can be applied to flows, and you can build that into your practice without having to worry about it becoming kind of a crazy jungle. I'm probably going to put it right in the middle. So yeah, probably the week before. It won't be on our usual Wednesday because that's always, yeah. But I'll put that out there. But our topic for tonight, we are honored to have Stephan Chandler-Garcia, as he is again, the demo magician for Dreamforce, and I'm sure every conference. Are you keynoting any of those other conferences? It was
No.
2 years ago you keynoted the architect section of Dreamforce, wasn't it?
That was back in 2021. That was the baby Dreamforce that was outside.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, welcome, Stephan. Unless anybody has any other questions before we start, I'm going to turn it over to Stephan and sit down and listen.
Cool.
You should have the ability to take control. I will stop sharing.
Okay, and I'll share in a second because there's a little bit of bait and switch. I'm going to talk about Dreamforce for a little bit, but please be ready to stand up and leave the room because I'm going to talk about AI a lot. Since obviously Dreamforce was the AI conference, I guess. But I have the information, so I'm going to talk about that a lot and run through some of the AI content that I put together for Dreamforce and for the next couple of weeks. But to quickly introduce myself, so I'm Stephan Chandler-Garcia. I'm Director of Strategic Content for our audience relations teams at Salesforce. So I look over admin relations, developer relations, our Trailhead content team, the community teams, and really help drive a lot of the strategic decisions and content that we make to present to developers, mostly. So one of my key roles that you would see me running is I program and own all of our technical keynote content. So the Dreamforce developer keynote, the Trailblazer DX keynotes are all sort of my big orchestration where I will put together all of the products, all the demos, all the content, and sort of make sure that that show delivers the expectations that we're sort of being asked to meet from developers, from the community, and ensure that we're putting the products in front of everyone in the correct way. One of those products is Flow, because I do believe that Flow and its capabilities are developer tools. I get a lot of pushback. And one of the comments that we got after the developer keynote this year was, hey, I thought this was the developer keynote. Why are you talking about Flow? And I think we still got so much work to break down those barriers, because Flow is like, if you're pushing back against Flow as a developer tool, you're falling behind as a Salesforce developer, because screen flows are invaluable to anyone who's doing front end or really interactive work for their users on the platform. Essentially, I still don't touch record triggered flows, but we'll keep that between these walls.
Preach. Oh, please don't tell me we lost internet already.
Okay, let me just get this all
situated. Okay, yeah, we're back. So just FYI, we lost activity. I've got to put some kind of motion something so you can see whenever, but I'm getting unstable internet warning, Stephan.
Okay. So. From me, okay?
It's for me, yeah, no, on our side.
Okay, cool. Can you see my screen?
I'm on the guest Wi-Fi at UTD and I lost my my student Wi-Fi. I've got to figure out how to fix that. So okay. We're back. It sounds like we're good.
Okay, fine. So we're going to talk about AI. Now, there is a misnomer in some of our product naming as of late, as you can imagine. There is a tool called Einstein for Developers, which is the code generation tool inside VS Code and Code Builder. There is also Einstein for You Developers, and we're going to be covering both of those today. So Einstein for Developers, the product, and Einstein for Developers. Like I said, I already introduced myself. This is a session that I put together for Dreamforce with Ananya Jha, who is our PM for all of our developer tools and experiences like Code Builder. She doesn't look after Code Builder. She looks after all of the extensions, the IDE experience itself, and everything that comes along with that, including Einstein for Developers. We're going to talk about a few things today. We're going to talk about sort of generative AI holistically and why I think it's incredibly important for the way that we build applications. We're going to talk about building with AI as a tool, building AI-powered apps, and then cover a couple of resources at the end of the session. So starting with generative AI, I don't know if anyone is part of the Salesforce subreddit, but just last night there was a post from the subreddit that said, hey, why does Salesforce keep talking about AI? They don't have any AI features. It's all total BS, okay? If you've been in this ecosystem for a long time, you know that's not true. We've been innovating around artificial intelligence for nearly 10 years now. We have over 1 trillion predictions per week on platform through a lot of the tools that we've baked in. It's important to keep in mind that when a lot of the AI functionality was released many years ago, things like image classification, case classification, all of those capabilities were first exposed via APIs and then eventually baked into the platform itself. So as a developer, you may not be familiar with something like Einstein case classification because you don't need to be. It's baked into setup. You train the model, you deploy it, and it suggests case types in the standard field. Like, it's super easy, it's out of the box. And we've been able to take those predictive AI capabilities and literally bake them into so much so part of the platform that people just turn them on and they're there. They don't think of them as AI anymore because they're part of people's day-to-day workflow. Now, we're going to be doing the same thing with generative AI, but first, what is the difference between generative AI and predictive AI and all of this stuff? I'm always shocked when I see how few people have actually logged in and used things like ChatGPT. Has anyone used ChatGPT to generate something? Raise your hand if you have. Okay, that looks like most of the room. Has anyone in there not? Okay, good. Everyone has. So you get the basic idea. Like, you take some sort of text, you pass it into the large language model, and it generates a response. That response could be text, an image, audio, video. There are so many ways that it could be perceived. So for example, a very simple prompt would be write me a poem about Salesforce, and it will write a poem for you about Salesforce using the context that it knows and the information it knows about writing poems and the information it knows about the company Salesforce up to a certain date and time. Now, the easiest way to get access to these large language models and build applications is through APIs. You literally pass your prompt via an API to a large language model and you get a response. It's super clean, it's super easy. If you've not used any of the OpenAI APIs, it's so easy to get a response from your prompt in the command line. Now, what this is generative AI versus predictive AI. And the big differentiator between the two is really the size and scale of what a foundational model is versus a traditional neural network. So if you take a traditional neural network, they're based around millions of parameters, and they're programmed using a language like Spark, like to come and predict a specific outcome and to train based on a specific type or set of data and come up with a very specific response. Thinking back to the way that Salesforce implemented predictive AI, you've got something like Einstein case classification that takes a set of case descriptions and labels and subjects and types and tries to predict the best type for that case based on the data that you're feeding into it. And so it knows what's going to be coming in and it knows what it needs to spit out, and it continually trains on that information. When you get into foundational models, they're taking in billions of parameters. Instead of your cases in Salesforce, they're taking in the entire internet. And the scope of what is being trained is vastly different. And the way that it's doing that training is also different. Number one, like I just said, there's a massive increase in scale here. And the way that these foundational models train is much different to those actual like traditional predictive models. And that's through self-supervision. Like, they're constantly auto-correcting and rescaling based off of the inputs that are fed into the model and the responses that are pulled out. So there's that constant self-supervised training that's happening, and they're constantly learning from the responses that they're providing over time. And then secondly, it has that transformer there that's helping to generate that structured content from unstructured information and data. If we think about how these models are generating long-form text or short-form text, what they're trying to do is predict the next word in the sentence or in the phrase to come up with that larger picture. There's no true brain formulating exactly what it needs to talk about. Like, you're putting in your prompt, you're asking it to write a poem about Salesforce, and it's going to say, okay, a poem is probably about 40 words long. It's going to start with this, and then this next word, and the next, and oh yeah, it needs to rhyme. And it's going to construct that body of text. Or if you're generating images, it's going pixel by pixel and picking the next pixel that it needs to create that perfect response based off of the data that it knows, information. Now, what does this mean for us as Salesforce users? We've sort of restructured and re-engineered the way that the platform works over the last few years, thanks to Hyperforce. Since we moved everything to public cloud, it's been much easier for us to build and scale the platform in many different directions than we have been able to in the past. Number one is Data Cloud. Like Data Cloud, we launched it at Dreamforce. last year. It did exist as CDP prior to then, a customer data platform, and we've been able to engineer it for scale on top of public cloud so that we can now start to store at copies and zero copy of like really incredibly large data sets and wrap them with the metadata framework that is Salesforce. And so part of the Einstein 1 platform is, number one, opening up Data Cloud to really use the metadata framework that we've created for the platform, as well as truly bring Einstein and these AI capabilities into every single part of Salesforce. You'll understand why that's important a little bit later in the talk. But having access to, number one, to Data Cloud, and number two, to Einstein within the metadata platform of Salesforce is a huge game changer when it comes to building out these applications. And in that same sense, we're extending the App Exchange to be able to build applications using Einstein for Data Cloud, for our core apps, to really create this new platform and expose that data up through our other capabilities like Slack and Tableau and Heroku, which is getting a whole new lease of life at the moment if you've seen all the job postings online for Heroku. Now, what enables this and what enables us to bring AI embedded so deeply into the platform is the Einstein trust layer. Now, a lot of people will say that this is marketing, like this is a pure marketing play, but it's not. Like the Einstein trust layer is the biggest differentiator, but like the biggest differentiator between what we're doing at Salesforce and what every other company is doing who's creating AI apps or providing access to these applications. Okay, it's a secure intermediary that ensures that your company can use these AI models through APIs from public providers without having to worry about security, your data being in transit, etc. Now, the way this works is every call into the trust layer originates inside of one of the CRM applications, whether that be in Commerce Cloud, Marketing Cloud, on Core, from Data Cloud. Whatever is initiating that transaction into the trust layer starts in Salesforce, whether that be from Apex, Flow, like anywhere, it's all coming from that core platform. You're taking that prompt, whatever it is that you're sending into the trust layer to generate a response, and it's going through sort of this before generation process. So there are a few things that we do as a company to ensure that that data is prepped and ready to go before the prompt actually hits one of those models or a provider, which I'll go through in a second. And the first thing that happens is secure data retrieval. So if you're sending through a prompt that has merge fields through one of our tools that we'll show you in a second, that helps generate this content, we're going to ground that data in the prompt to provide it more context around your use case. There is vast amounts of proof now that if you ground the prompt that you're sending to a large language model in reality, it increases the quality of the response, even though the model may not be trained on current data. So if you're asking the model to take care of the generating and the writing of the content, but giving it all of the information that it needs to create an accurate response, it's going to know what to do. So for example, if you ask OpenAI to write an account overview of the company Salesforce, and you provide it the company's name, their description, a list of activities from their account, maybe a list of opportunities, the model isn't going to have to go and try and think about what Salesforce is. It's going to know what Salesforce is based off of the information that you provide it that is relevant and up to date. And it's going to be able to formulate that generation based off of the data you provide it. The second aspect of this, though, is alongside of that secure data retrieval based on record context is the dynamic grounding that's going to be happening around knowledge articles, around data graphs in Data Cloud. And there's a whole semantic search functionality that's going to allow you to vectorize some of your CRM data and then also ground that prompt with that information. So your prompt started out with a little bit of text that you passed in, but it grows and grows based off of the context that you're providing it and hydrating it through this before generation process as part of the trust layer. From there, we then mask the data. So for example, if you're passing in personal information, we actually have an in-house machine learning algorithm that we've trained to do PII identification. And so there's a blog post that I wrote a couple of weeks ago that actually details out the data that we're masking, but it's going to go through and search that entire body that's been hydrated for PII, and it's then going to mask it using specific identifiers so that when you're passing that potentially sensitive information into a model, whether that be a third party or an in-house model, it's going to mask it and ensure that that data isn't sent there. Now, it's worth noting, OpenAI, for example, one of our main partners in this, does not retain any data that's passed to it. However, if you're a company that works in financial services, if you're a company that is based in Europe, it's against regulation for you to even take that personal information and send it over a network connection, so via an API. And so even if OpenAI isn't retaining the data, it's crucial for a lot of companies that that PII is not sent over the network to a third party. And so this covers you and your company when it comes to that. And then lastly, we have a load of prompt defense heuristics that we then wrap around the prompt. And so, for example, we will do as much as we can out before and after the prompt to ensure that the response comes back safe, that there's no injection possible, and that everything is nice and secure before it actually goes over into the model. Once that's ready to go, it's then passed in through the secure gateway. Now, the way that this gateway functions is there are sort of three ways that you can interact with it and have models be running. Number one is hosted models that you're hosting within your Salesforce environment, within the trust boundary, that are running on our servers. So for example, CodeGen, our model for generating code in Apex, runs within the trust layer. It uses the secure gateway and it goes and generates the code. If you're using an external model like OpenAI, it's running through that same exact trust layer. And again, it's not retaining any information. Or if you're bringing your own model, this is capability that's still coming in the future, safe harbor. The bring your own model functionality is currently available for Data Cloud when you want to run using Amazon Bedrock or SageMaker, but we're also expanding the trust layer to use that as well for generations in this instance. And then once that's done, we take the response and we run it through a toxicity detection algorithm as well to make sure that the response is safe. And we test it against 6 categories around safe responses that you want to make sure are coming back to the models for your users. The data is demasked, and at that point, it's delivered to the user. From there, they can provide feedback on the response that we log, and there's a full audit trail around the prompts that were sent to the model, the way that they were masked, and the feedback that comes through. So companies can audit it all the way through. I know it's a lot to take in, and literally it all happens in a split second, but it's crucial to getting your companies bought into using AI. I don't know a single company that, like, in the last 6 months hasn't decided they need to use some sort of generative AI to do something, to make some job easier, go away, whatever their motivations are. Like, the demand is there, but we want to make sure that when you're using incredibly sensitive customer information in a CRM, obviously our platform's full of it, that it's safe and secure as it travels through that trust layer to come back to you. Now, for example, if you have a live chat, you're not going to want to send that entire live chat conversation through the model. You're going to want it to run it through the grounding, through demasking, through defense, until you get that suggestion back out the other end. Like, every use case, like anytime anything's being generated on platform, whether it be an email, a field, someone's hitting the API, like every single transaction is running through this trust layer to make sure that it's coming back safe and secure. So that's a little bit of how generative AI works in the context of just an approach of generating a response through the trust layer. I want to talk about some of the tools that we have and some of the ways that you can build with generative AI. And the first of those is Einstein for developers. This is really our first way into code gen on Salesforce. It's built on top of a model that we've created ourselves. And currently, it just does natural language to code and uses the Salesforce Code Analyzer to scan your code for sharing and security vulnerabilities. But the idea is that it grows into a really big platform for helping developers program, write code faster, and spend their time writing and solving more complicated challenges than sort of basic features and functions. You access it through a VS Code extension. So you set up Einstein for developers, you install the VS Code extension, and then you can start generating code. It's available in Code Builder and VS Code now in a beta. And once again, we're making it available everywhere. We want a single unified experience no matter where you want to develop. Paul mentioned Code Builder is now GA and available, and that's what we're going to demo now for you to see. So in your orgs now, if you are on a production org, there is now a setup node for Code Builder. And all you have to do is go and enable it and install the managed package. Okay, there will be a little install link here. That's it, and you have Code Builder. If you're on Professional Edition, you have 10 licenses. If you're on Enterprise Edition, you have 30 licenses. And if you're on Unlimited, you have 100 licenses for Code Builder. So you can have that many developers with access to spin up these virtual IDE experiences. Okay, if you are a partner, your company's org will have access to Code Builder, and you can connect Code Builder to as many customer or client orgs as possible. If you're an ISV, they're not called PDOs anymore, I don't think. Your app development orgs, whatever they call them now, have access to Code Builder, and you could spin up Code Builder instances for you to work on your app to distribute within your teams. Now, once you install it, you'll notice there's an app in the org for Code Builder. And I'm actually going to show you how easy it is to get this started. And I've not tested it yet, so you're getting a proper live demo here. No keynote demo magic, as they say. So when you turn on Code Builder, you've got a dashboard here. You'll have access to your environment. We can launch it. And what this is doing, it's provisioning a total, like a VM for your org. Okay, and so you have a VM that's going to be running on AWS that is going to give you access to Code Builder. And what it's doing now is literally spinning it up for us, and it's just going to check to see that it's launched and ready to go. I've been using Code Builder for about 2 years now. We rely on it big time for building keynotes. One of the reasons is that all of the machines that we're demoing on aren't the machines that we're building on in keynotes at Salesforce. And so we need to be able to really move around the code that we're showing. We need to be able to open from any browser window anywhere. We need to be able to dev from anywhere, because you never know what's going to go wrong. And Code Builder has been an excellent solution for us to be able to do this. One of the reasons I think it's really important for customers is I know a lot of you, if you're partners, you have clients that may not want you to install the CLI on their machines. They may not want to install VS Code, the Java runtime on your machines. And Code Builder makes it really easy for you to just be able to develop on Salesforce. Shane McLaughlin, one of the PMs for the CLI, said something earlier today about how it's the fastest way to get access to the CLI on Salesforce, because you can spin up your Code Builder environment and you're going to immediately have access to the CLI. Let's see how this is going for a minute.
Stephan,
Yes.
is Code Builder regionalized, and what's the 30 per license about? We've got 300 developers on my part of my project.
Yep.
And if it would be amazing if there were regional versions offshore that were localized, that didn't cause my team to go through VPN tunnels.
Those are all excellent questions that I don't know the answers to.
Okay.
But something that I can go back to the PM and find out about. So that's all very valid. As far as the licenses go, I don't know how negotiable it is, but they are just permission set licenses added to the org. I think because there's a cost to run the VMs, that's just the inherited cost. I don't know if they're selling additional licenses.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But that easy. I have a Salesforce DX project here in an empty instance of Code Builder. I can start out by going back and connecting my org. I can download the metadata. It's that quick and easy to get access to this. So I'm going to go ahead, and I was going to connect this org, but I think I'm going to move ahead of this demo because of the timeline that it's taking, here. But additionally, if you want to then take advantage of Einstein for developers and generate code, again, it's part of setup. So let's see, we should have Einstein for developers here. Let's see, for developers. All you have to do is go in and accept the terms and conditions, enable it. And when you do, your org will then have access to the generative AI functionality. There have been a lot of questions around whether or not it has access to your metadata. It has access to your object schema inside of your VS Code project in the first instance of Einstein for developers. And so if you're asking questions about generating code for custom objects, it has access to the schema. So make sure your schema is refreshed so that it can generate accurate responses there. Okay. On that, I'm going to jump back over to the presentation. Let's skip a couple of these. Now, again, Einstein for developers, it's generating code for you. Chances are there's probably no PII, but we're still running it through a variant of the trust layer. Okay, we're running it through the workspace context, the schema context, through the gateway, and then running it through toxicity detection and the audit trail. So we're checking it for vulnerabilities. You'll see if you try and write any like super destructive prompts into Einstein for developers, it's going to flag them and it's not going to pass them through. That's all coming through the toxicity detection. So it's the same framework, same trust layer that we're using for all generative AI interactions and generations. Okay. I will share this presentation to learn more of this from Ananya, but I'm going to get into my favorite part of it. And that's actually building AI-powered apps on Salesforce. Now, I already talked earlier about how you take a prompt and you generate content. We ground it with customer data, we mask it and send it through. But I want to show you what that looks like and talk about it in context. So number one, you can ground with CRM data. If you have a record ID, you pass your record ID in, it will populate any directly called out merge fields inside of that. Okay, you can populate them with external data, whether that be from MuleSoft through any other API integrations. You can ground them with Data Cloud, and you can pull in greater data graphs and bring that data in to enrich that. What does that mean? It's probably easier for me to show you in a tool that we've created called the Prompt Builder. So you've probably seen the Prompt Builder in some of our demos. This is real. We are in an org here. What this does is target a record for us to generate a prompt for. Okay, this is called an Apex prompt currently. All of the names of these things are changing. I think the current working title is freeformed prompts, but we want to be able to create prompts that you as developers can access and use anywhere. This isn't just for field value generation. This isn't just for email generation. You're literally going to be able to take prompts and use them anywhere in Salesforce. So any app that you're building can be AI powered in some way, shape, or form. Okay, that is really our goal here, is so that you can bring AI anywhere that you think it's valuable to generate content. So for example, this field here, I've targeted the account object. I have access to all of the account merge fields here. So any data that I want to bring in from the account, I can merge into this prompt. I can bring in data from Apex using an invocable method. I can bring in data from Flow, and then I can bring in data from Data Cloud. And so there's an example here where I've grabbed a flow. I've got a flow called Get Opportunities from Account here. And I can go in and I can say, okay, write an account overview for this company, account.name, use this description for more information. This is their annual revenue. The company was started in this year. They have this many employees. And then here's a list of their past Salesforce opportunities for you to pull insight from. And here's a flow that just says, that just passes in that record ID based on the account, and we'll go and get all of those opportunities. Okay, I can test this in the prompt builder itself. And so I can grab the account and I can generate a response. And it's going to do two things. It's going to compile the prompt and ground it, and then it's going to send it over to generate the response. It all happens really quickly. And so while that's generating here, I'll go ahead and show you what it's compiled down to. So you can see here, it's pulled the company name. I actually didn't have a description on here. So I'm gonna, let's try this again. Let's grab a different company that I actually put a description onto. We should get a better response as well. There we go. Okay. So I said generate a value that, write an account overview for a company called this, use this description. It merges in the description. It tells me that they have an app, the name of their app that they sell, when the company was started, how many employees they have, and then it's pulled a list of their opportunities. Okay, and the trust layer, these APIs are able to take this information and understand the array. They're able to understand the context that we're passing in to write that description. Okay, imagine if you're creating accounts in Salesforce, you've got a trigger that's running every time an opportunity is created, every time a task is created. You want to send your sales team like an overview of the company. You want to do this, that, and the other. Like you could grab this in a trigger, you could grab this in a flow, you could grab this anywhere and bake this into your process so that it's running. Now, if we look at the description that was generated here, you can see here, it's written a full summary of this company based off of their sales history, based off of their opportunities, based off of all the information that we provided, so that instead of having to have someone go through and read through the data, it's literally written a one-pager on their account history. Okay, this is something you could do like with any idea that you have in pulling any data from Salesforce and running it through one of these models. Okay, again, like I said, you can give feedback if it's helpful, if it's not helpful. This is all logged in the feedback framework. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save this. And on the fly, I'm going to try something that I wasn't planning on demoing, but let me just see if it's going to work for
What's
us
that?
here.
I believe, Stephan, the question is everything coming from Salesforce or is some of that going to the web?
It's running through the trust layer, in this instance, out to OpenAI. So it is going out to OpenAI once it's all been masked and injected with the prompt defense heuristics, and then coming back.
Is OpenAI running in the Salesforce ecosystem, or is OpenAI the cloud service that, okay.
On their cloud service, yeah. Yeah, currently. We are working on other providers as well as some inbound and some bring your own model perspectives, but currently OpenAI.
But that's all coming from Salesforce ecosphere. Nothing's coming from Google or wherever.
No, nope. All
Right.
of this is coming from the information that you're grounding with.
But could it?
Potentially, if you ask it to create something, if you don't provide a description, it could come from data that OpenAI has been trained on. Yeah, definitely.
That's one of the big
Yeah.
buzzwords that they've been dancing around. Like toxicity was a big deal. Whenever an AI was generating hate speech and was doing suicide letters and stuff like that, they wanted to be able to detect toxicity. So I see every one of these train wrecks that have happened on the AI journey, there's something that's covered there. The big one that you're talking about that is getting access to it, there was a great ability to pull data from Google, but it would start looking like you were repurposing copyrighted data. So there was no way to trust that you weren't pulling something that somebody didn't want you to use and incorporate into your AI solution. So to be safe, they're kind of restarting with, it's only the data you train it on. You point it to what it can learn, and they're doing very limited stuff where they're pulling in things from just Stack Exchange or just some of these curated Google results. So there's a lot of thought behind that. So you'll see a starting position of it should be only your data model and only your data, and getting access to pull everything in and write your code off of copy and paste from Stack Exchange. That's being kind of slowly ramped in so that they can do it ethically.
Yeah, I'm not sure what OpenAI is doing there. We're running currently on GPT 3.5 Turbo with some internal options to run on 4. But publicly we're running on 3.5 Turbo still. So it is generating content based off of what you provide it through OpenAI's API specifically. In this instance, I can't talk about the other things coming soon and providers that are next on the list, but that will be public knowledge really soon.
Okay.
But I did want to just show this example. I've taken that prompt and I've wired it up to code here. So here we can generate that account overview. And this is just an example of how you as a developer will be able to bring this functionality into your apps themselves. And so, for example, if we wanted to write a summary and overview for a company inside of an LWC or inside of a flow, I've just invoked that prompt and passed in that data that's been generated from the page context in that record. Okay, how is this happening? It's all happening in code currently. Okay, there is a connect API method for generating outputs. Now, this is currently in a private pilot with a select number of ISVs. That pilot is coming to an end soon, and we are migrating this endpoint to its own namespace. So this specific implementation of the Einstein LLM Gateway APIs is not going to be released to customers. Okay, there will be a new version released very soon. I'd expect to see it very, very, very soon.
And this is
once we get through the testing.
This is code that you had to write. The AI didn't put you out of work.
It did not. No,
Write itself.
I think the AI would have trouble putting me out of work. Any of us out of work. But what this is it literally is an Apex method that allows you to pass in prompt text for a prompt ID, configure the endpoint. So for example, this one configures the max number of tokens and generate a response. And so I've reduced it down to a single method. But for example, if I wanted to pass in just a context of service chat. So this is an example we were using around, can you summarize a live chat conversation and then paste in that chat conversation? It's full of PII. Just an example that shows like, even if you're passing in raw text full of PII through the APIs in Salesforce, they're still running through the trust layer. They're getting fully masked. The prompt defense is coming in and coming back out through the system. And so if I execute this here, you'll see how quickly it's ran through that. And it's ran and generated a response there. So it summarized that for us in Apex really quickly and easily, ran it through the trust layer, provided a response. And so as developers, like you can literally build AI apps and put that code anywhere and bring it into whatever you're building. Like that is the vision. That is the direction we want to go in. So every single person who's building on Salesforce can be an AI developer and bring this technology in to make their users' lives easier. That is the goal. That's the direction. And that's where you're going to keep seeing the company going. In that, I've already shown you that. And that's pretty much it for me. Just wanted to show you a little bit of the capability and the way that we're going, just to sort of inspire developers and get some feedback on the messaging and the way that we're positioning AI for developers.
That's great. Did VS Code ever pull up?
Yeah, it did, but I didn't connect the org to get Einstein for developers, but it's here. The only reason I didn't connect the org is because I don't know the password, because I just spun it up earlier today.
Cool. I just wanted to see the preview. So what'd you say?
Yeah. Oh, hold on, it may work.
You have an org active on VS Code? Cool. Oh yeah, code builder. Sorry, I'm going to
Yeah,
struggle.
I'd have to go and get the username in there, and I don't think I set a password for it. But I literally just spun up an org this afternoon, spun up code builder. It's that quick and easy to get going. It's really cool.
Even on the what? On this Wi-Fi, even here? Okay.
Great, even better.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Yeah, I miss being able to use developer console. It was so lightweight, you could run it on a phone.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that we get the same kind of lightweight interface and you don't have to have a developer machine to have a good developer experience.
Nope, the load is running on the VM. And so as long as you can get the instance loaded, it stores some of the config in the browser. So like, for example, your path where what your state is of code builder. So like if you're swapping between machines and you've got 4 tabs open on this machine, when you spin it up on the new machine, it'll open up as a clean project in the current project, but it will open up not in the state that you left it if you didn't save the changes.
Yeah, does it work in offline mode?
I don't know, probably not. I've not tried it.
Yeah,
You got to be able to connect to the VM.
yeah,
I could try dropping my connection now, but I don't think that'd be
No,
very
please don't.
successful.
No, not yet. We may have more connection or more questions.
Shoot, I'm ready for anything that I can legally say.
How come Apex has never been renamed?
Don't know.
Okay.
Does it need to be?
Well, everything else has been named like 13 times. So
Maybe some people at the very top of the company don't know what Apex is, but they don't know to rename it.
all right, my humor doesn't get any better from here. Anybody else have any good questions for Stephan? Then you'll have to wait. I only have the one microphone.
Like, can we expect any code suggestions in the developer console, like, like VS Code?
No, I wouldn't. It's being maintained, but I don't foresee any big development coming.
Like, the VS Code, it's like a third party, we have to integrate those things by using CLI, right? So in the developer console itself, we need any suggestions? Like, can we expect any suggestions, like a AI tool?
Oh, I think he's talking like code hints and ESLint.
Oh,
Other plugins.
oh, into the developer console?
And or Chat GPT suggesting how to. It looks like you're trying to write a form here.
Nope, not into the developer console.
Not to the develop. No, but code builder.
Oh, into code builder. Oh, that I don't know. That I don't know.
Sorry, yeah, I think I'm the only one who still cares about developer console.
Yeah,
So
that I don't know.
about code builder.
Yeah, that I don't know the answer to.
Yeah, the developer AMA that I will find the link and send it out to everybody. There was one of the engineers for Code Builder was on there and answering some of the questions that she could.
Yeah.
I had a lot about like how long it's going to be retained and you know, how long can I go in between connecting to it that my data is
Yeah.
lost and stuff like that. The continuity of it, the storage. You know, if I am pulling in large data, what's my limitation? So. So questions from people, from a person who's broken a lot of things. So I'm not the best example. Anybody else have any questions for Stephan? This is great access to a great resource.
What other areas are they planning to integrate the AI apart from the code builder?
Where
Everywhere.
yeah,
Everywhere except developer console. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Expect to see, I mean, Copilot and all that functionality is really going to change the way that we build apps on Salesforce.
And I'm not familiar with Copilot as a term. What is the?
So Copilot is our initial implementation of autonomous AI frameworks into Salesforce. A great example of that is there's a great framework called LangChain. And what LangChain does is it orchestrates interactions between AI, your APIs, functions that you write, vector databases to enrich the data, and pretty much we'll be able to take a question or a request and be able to orchestrate actions based off of what it thinks it should be doing. So for example, if you say, hey, Einstein, can you update all of my opportunities that I created today to close the 1st of December? It will be able to take that question and identify that it needs to query for opportunities owned by the user. It will need to go and update them by the close date and then respond back with the fact that it's completed that. Okay. If you need to ask Einstein to update a customer's order to be shipped and require a signature by this date, like Einstein will be able to take the skills that it has and the things and code that you've given it access to and say, okay, I need to query for orders by this customer. I need to update the order. I then need to take the FedEx API skill and go and require a signature based on that delivery, whatever. Okay. It's limitless. Okay. And so as developers, we're going to be focused more on building out skills and actions versus the full orchestration gambit.
Cool.
There's a lot. Go and read the autonomous blog that I wrote last week.
That's great. Yeah, it's the distinction between the different types of AI is making me angry from being an old school ELIZA player and looking at all the grid compute and all the neural networks and Chat GPT is far left of a lot of those. So I didn't know that there was the autonomous piece was in there. So that's very cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I had another random question. Code Guru.
Yep. Apex Guru.
Apex Guru.
No, Code Guru.
What is Apex Guru?
Apex Guru is a different code scanner than Code Analyzer, but looks for performance vulnerabilities in your org. So if you're on Unlimited Edition, you have access to Scale Center, and then Apex Guru is part of that. It's just an additional code scanning layer.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, they talked about that on the developer AMA last time, and I was writing things down and trying to ask questions, and it went by too fast. So it sounded interesting. That's great. Oh, yeah, sorry, another question.
Just layer has so many chunks of like steps, right? So is there a latency issue or it will, that doesn't account? Because I'm just asking.
He was asking about the latency in between all the steps in AI. I think you said it was milliseconds, but is there any concern around any of those being able to scale out?
Yet.
Because you have audit trail also before sending the information. Sorry, I saw that.
You got what? I'm sorry.
Audit trail.
Audit trails?
Yeah. So audit trail is to just provide a like insert an audit, right? Saying that okay, they asked this response or is it just, what is the purpose of the audit?
What is the purpose of the audit trails?
To see what's going through the models.
that it can be done after we do the response.
After, before the response, after the response. So it's a big worry that when you unleash these types of engines, that they're telling your customers, you should buy from somebody else because Best Buy has this on sale. Don't buy it from me. And they want to be able to go through and track and improve the language model and see it. So the worry of anything you automate something, you worry that it runs away from you. So there's a lot of kind of uncertainty that these things will go wrong. So correct me if I'm wrong, Stephan. I'm trying to editorialize based on.
At the moment, it's just for security purposes. Eventually, it could help retrain models, depending on the type of models. For example, code Einstein for developers in the code generation, it is incorporating that feedback into the model. Whereas for currently, like service replies, it's not.
Okay. Next best actions. Any development on that? That was always a back and forth with a competitor that I watched. No?
It's part of the predictive capabilities. There's still a team looking after all those.
Okay. Cool. Anything else you can't share with us?
Nope.
Nope. Ah.
Not yet. Not while we're being recorded.
I'm excited. Okay, well, that's great. Thank you, Stephan. I cherish every moment that I get to pick your brain. Any other final questions for Stephan? Thank you again. All right.
Cool. Thank you all.
Who remembers where Stephan lives? What part of the country does Stephan live? Who's it? All right. I have another giveaway. Last giveaway of the night. You got a book already, but thank you. Sorry, I brought a lot of swag tonight, so I guess Stephan's already dropped off. Sorry. Oh, hey, Pearlie. Sorry, I didn't get over to allow anybody to talk. Hopefully you got to chat, type stuff in there. If you had it. All right, well, we'll go ahead and close everything out. Everybody who got swag, please stick around for a picture if you would, please. And thank you again very much for coming out tonight. There's a lot of pizza left over, so if you want any, please take it. Thank you again.